French cars like these were supposed to be the future of American roads, but they all failed in the US market. Why?
Today we're gonna dive into the weird world of French cars, what brought them to the US, and why they didn't stick around. Maybe we'll even conduire certains d'entre eux.
Welcome to Baguette.
French cars have been around for way longer than most people realize. Mercedes is credited with building the first car, but France had a steam-powered wagon way back in 1869. By 1900, France was behind half of the world's vehicle production. In fact, the French were even responsible for some seriously advanced technology we still use today, like radial tires, panhard rods, torsion bars. That is all French stuff. Things were going great until a little thing called World War II. After the war, France was left with very limited materials to rebuild their entire infrastructure, so they came up with a plan, the Pons Plan. There are a lot of complicated geopolitics at play here, but long story short, France created their own Big Three, or Big Trois. You had Renault, Citroën, and Peugeot. It was the beginning of a new era, but a bummer for French car enthusiasts who crave variety.
We wanted to see what we've been missing out on, but where the hell do you find French cars in LA? We figured why not try and throw a little French car meetup of our own and see what showed up.
We're here in beautiful SoCal, and the Citroën Car Club has assembled a wonderful charcuterie of French cars for us to look at.
That's right, we got Renaults, we got Peugeots, Citroëns, we got some rare stuff. We got some SEMA builds back there. We're gonna talk to the owners and see what French cars are all about.
Front wheel drive with a transmission up front, unibody, leveling rear suspension. This is the 6-cylinder one, which was queen of the road.
It was designed in the 30s, but was produced after World War II. I mean, Citroën wants to do like Volkswagen did for Beetle, like a car for people, you know, for a farmer, for everyone to buy.
The people's car.
Exactly.
But I just like the looks of French cars because they're different. And they also do things their way. There's a hydraulic pump. Once you start it, the car raises, and then it has this incredible ride. There's no car that rides like this.
And this is the same factory hydraulic system from when it came out that hasn't been like changed or upgraded.
Rolls-Royce uses it, and they have for many, many, many years.
Wow.
Paid a licensing fee, and they use it.
So they're still licensing this technology?
Rolls-Royce, yeah.
I'm actually really confused because these are sick, like stylistically, innovation-wise. Like, why on earth didn't they sell well in the US?
Well, to make sense of that, we gotta go back to the beginning.
French cars started showing up on American soil in the early 50s, and the first breakout hit was the Renault Dauphine in 1957.
We're lucky enough to have a Dauphine with us here today. This thing, obviously not stock. This is built by Justin here. It's a standout car at the 2024 SEMA show. Justin, can you tell us a little bit about your rowdy Renault right here?
As it's a desert find, it was old and beat up, no engine, no floorboard, no interior. I built a full frame for it, full suspension for it. It's all push rod suspension. I built the car not to sit in parking lots like it is now. I built the car to drive and beat. So I didn't want some exotic engine. So it's a Volkswagen VR6 out of a mid-2000s GTI. It's not going to leave me stranded or die out.
If you blow up one, I mean, all the rest of the hard work is done. The engine's the least of your concern.
So now all
Sounds great.
Okay, there's no car clubs allowed in the parking lot. I'm gonna start issuing citations and our tow vehicles too.
All right, sounds like we gotta get out of here.
Yeah, I love it.
How are the police in this area? Pretty good?
The Dauphine was meant to be a friendly competitor to the Volkswagen Beetle, which was a massive hit in the US. And oh boy, was it a hit. In just 1 year, Renault grew from over 400 dealerships and sold 57,000 Dauphines. Then, a year later, it nearly doubled those sales. Americans loved this little car, and despite how hard it could be to keep it on the road, due to its overall poor build quality, and a bit of a difficult time getting parts, it was still a banger.
In 1959, the first wave of American compacts hit the market. This was not great for the French imports. Not only did the American Big Three have brand recognition and way more dealerships, the other import competition, like the Beetle, had a much better quality of vehicle and the support system to keep them on the road. Let's see. Thanks to the increased competition and ongoing supply chain issues, in 1966, Renault only sold 12,000 Dauphines and production stopped the following year. Even though Renault's compact car couldn't last to the 1960s, Citroën had a trick up their sleeve. A much bigger trick. This is the DS. Unlike the economical Dauphine, the DS was a larger executive car. Named to sound like the French word for goddess, the DS was as elegant as it was futuristic. It drove like nothing Americans had ever seen. By using a lever in the footwell, the DS could be raised for access and lowered for stability. It could also balance on 3 wheels if a tire blew out, or lift a leg to leak some fluid, or to change a tire. They even rallied the thing.
We're here with Mark, and this is his 1967 Citroën DS21 Palace.
Palace is the luxury trim of the DS. There's a lot of fancy lad touches on this here car compared to some of the other ones.
So this is the highest trim, basically the Bentley of Citroën.
Citromatic transmission, which is the semi-automatic. It has all the stainless trim on the bottom. Very exquisite.
Exquisite. So do the girls like it?
They do. But you know, with any old car, you always have the guys crowding around.
Oh yeah.
It just depends on which way you swing.
What?
Probably the biggest thing I think with a French car opposed to other cars would be the ride quality and just the comfort.
It is pretty amazing, like starting with the Traction Avant that we looked at, that had the self-leveling suspension, and Citroën just kind of like took it from there. And that was what, from the 50s, right?
Yeah, like, I feel like so many other manufacturers don't rely on suspension as their calling card.
You know, Rolls-Royce also licensed the rear adjustable shocks through Citroën.
You're the second person who said that today. That's such a fun fact though, you gotta say it.
It's weird, you know, we don't see French cars enough on American roads, so when you do see one and you see the styling of this, it looks like it's from another dimension. There's nothing else like it. Mark, do you think we could go for a little spin?
Absolutely.
Let's do it. Let's go. All right, let's pull over to the left here.
To the left. Maybe give a little gas. That's sick. Cold weather, so.
That's fun. This is very unique. Oh, I love this. Oh man.
Did you feel that pothole?
Not really, no. These aren't the smoothest streets here in Inglewood, and this thing's just gliding right over them.
How's that back seat?
Luxury. Everybody's looking too.
I know.
They're like, what the hell is that? Citroën had pushed the envelope beyond what the Detroit Big Three were doing. Domestic automakers had no choice but to pull some dirty, dirty tricks to get back on top. For example, steerable headlights found on the DS and SM were a beloved safety innovation, until Detroit lobbied the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration to ban them. What? And even worse, 5-mile-per-hour bumper height regulations meant the up-down suspension wasn't even allowed in the US either. Sound familiar? Citroën saw no point in re-engineering their cars to make them crappier for a hostile market. So, in 1970, they announced that they would leave the market by 1975.
While French cars were disappearing from the US, Europe was gorging on that fresh from the oven, full-on homologation monster known as the Renault 5 Turbo. The thing was built for rally, but sold for the alleys. Ooh. Rally in the streets.
And in the alleys.
That doesn't work anyway. This thing came equipped with a turbocharged 1.4-liter engine, which was mounted in the rear of the car, made 158 horsepower. I know it doesn't sound that crazy, but because of this thing's tiny wheelbase and super lightweight, it quickly became a rally legend. But we didn't get it. Instead, we got a different version called Le Car.
Missing out on the R5T hype was a sign of things to come. As the 80s continued, Japanese imports from Honda, Toyota, and Nissan accounted for 1/5 of all cars sold to Americans. With the Japanese compact being the wave and oil shortages making compacts in fashion once again, Renault and Peugeot thought maybe they could give it one last try.
As a last-ditch effort, Renault bought a stake in AMC, which gave them access to 6 times as many dealers as they had in the 1970s.
American Motors just made buying cars and trucks a lot easier. Get the exciting Renault 18i or Le Car. More tough action from American Motors.
The car they built in America, the 1983 to 87 Renault Alliance, was beloved by reviewers and buyers, but AMC was already failing, merci. And to make matters worse, Renault CEO was assassinated by anarchists in 1987. We actually have an episode of Past Gas, a 2-parter about that. Ultimately, his replacement decided the end was here. Renault stopped selling in the US market that very same year. That's
ew! Of the 3 major French automakers, only Peugeot remained in America. They spent the next few years offering discounted sedans to New York cab companies, but it just wasn't enough. There were simply too few dealers, too many delayed foreign parts, and it was just too much money. It was time to pull the plug. Peugeot was effectively out in 1991.
So what about today? Well, Fiat and Alfa Romeo are back in the US, so why not the French? Well, they've thought about it. Renault, Citroën, and Peugeot are now part of major international conglomerates, so the dealership hurdle could technically be overcome. And with Citroën and Maserati under the same roof again, there are hints that the recent DS SM concept could get a limited run. So that'd be kind of cool, wouldn't it? That's much more reasonable than I thought. So huge thank you to everybody who brought their cars out and let us ride and drive in them. Super, super fun time. Huge thank you to the Citroën Owners Club for helping us organize that little meet there. Sorry about the beach cops kind of shutting it down. And thank you for watching. Follow Tristan at Mr. Molecule. _Molecule. Follow me at Nolan J. Sykes if you'd like to, and we will see you next time. What should I leave for a tip?
0.